All right, everyone, how are we doing? It's Friday, and this is the morning briefing from the Celtic Way. I'm Hamish. We've got Tony and Ryan here as well. Apologies, we're a little bit late to the live viewers, but we're here better late than never. How are we feeling, guys? We're Friday. We're a couple of days away from. It's another big game, isn't it? I mean, we say that every single week. Yeah, it's a big match, and we're hopeful of another Celtic victory. And just tick it off, Tony.
Yeah, we're now down to the famous five, aren't we, basically, in terms of the league title. So, yeah, first stop, Dundee. Take the road and miles to Dundee and waltz off with 3 points from Tayside. Thank you very much. That's the way I hope Celtic approach it on Sunday. But Sunday can't come quick enough, can it? Because we're all kind of... It's one of those, you just wish it was Sunday. You know, and you were speaking off earlier just before we came on, and it's shaped up to be a pretty good day. Obviously, Celtic's title opponents play in Paisley a couple of hours before Celtic, and then Celtic will play Dundee, so they'll kind of know what's required. But they know what's required anyway. A win, and that's it. Just win.
That's it. Apparently, I'm a little bit quiet going off one comment, so I'll try and fix that. Ryan, how are you feeling? I mean, it's a long time to wait between games at the moment, isn't it? It's 8 days between the Aberdeen and the Dundee match, and it seemed like forever.
Yeah, how long's pre-season going to be when you take into account how long it's felt with these games, and it's only been 8 days between the Aberdeen and this game, the Aberdeen semi-final, and this game coming up. And I'm looking forward to it. It was nice to have the excursion of going to Hampden and going to the Scottish Cup semi-final, but it's back to league action. Celtic have got to get the 3 points. Anything else is a bit of a disaster, considering the position that they find themselves in. They can't control anything else. They can only control their own result. They'll have to... I'm sure they won't be watching the game that's going on in Paisley, St Mirren versus Rangers, but they'll be aware of the scoreline roughly when they go out on and take to the field. But that shouldn't make a difference to their game plan whatsoever. 6 cup finals, including a cup final, 5 league games and 1 cup final. They've all got to be treated with the same importance. 6 wins out of 6. Try and get as many wins as you can, and make sure those 2 trophies come back to Kerrydale Street in the Celtic way.
There we go. I think I'm coming through my earpods now, and there's dogs barking. It's all happening, guys. I'll try and fix this. Mark's having a go at me for not paying attention. I'm trying to fix my mic issue, but oh god, someone's saying they can hear me fine now. Is someone just at the wind up? Has someone got me to unplug my stuff and go into AirPods and all of that? What are you like? What are they like? Take it away, Tony. Tell us something we can chat about and take people's minds off whatever nonsense is going on here.
I'm trying to just hope that the dog's going to stop. You know what I mean? You let the dogs out, you know what I mean? Every day. What's it like? But there you go. It just so happens when you have plenty of them to make noise. No, I just think, I think the sense that the Celtic supporters and the manager and the players are right up for this. I've got no trepidation about these 5 games at all. I'm just willing them to meet them head on. And as I say, hopefully they got the kind of worst one out the way last week. And that was the kind of, I wouldn't say it's a wake-up call that they need, but just a reminder that you have to be on it. You have to bring your A game. You know, we know what's at stake here. The manager, the players and everybody. And there's just a kind of collective groundswell of everybody just being in this together. And also you've got the kind of Joe Hart, clock ticking down as well. For him, so just give him, the career ending that he deserves, that fairy tale ending with a League and Cup double, and I'm confident in this manager and group of players to do that. And as the old cliche, it's one game at a time. So we address Dundee, and just remember that Dundee put in a decent performance last midweek against Rangers, so they ain't going to be a pushover. So you give them all the reverence and the respect they deserve, but you go and be professional and clinical and do the job.
Yeah, do you sense that there's any issues? Because we have struggled in some of these kind of matches this season, maybe more so at Celtic Park than away from home. I just I know the last weekend was not amazing, and it was a bit hard. We made it harder than it should have been, and it obviously very nervy going to penalty kicks, etc. But, apart from that, I've sensed a real business-like approach from Celtic. Livy away, St Mirren at home, even the derby in that first half, we meant business. And I just get the impression we'll see something else. But as Tony says, Ryan, there is evidence, very recent evidence of Dundee being able to, match a team near the top of the league. And Rangers, they were unfortunate not to win that.
Yeah, although there is other evidence to suggest that that Dundee are one of Celtic's best teams to play against. I think it's as it was said yesterday, 13-1 on aggregate.
13-1.
Yeah, they're one of the teams that Celtic seem to get a lot of joy with, especially that home game, which was a bit of an anomaly, to be honest, but still a great performance and a great win. It was a shame that Celtic couldn't consolidate that 3 or 4 days later at Tynecastle against Hearts, but they've got an unbeaten record an invincible record rather against Dundee this season. You're hoping that they can keep that going. And Dundee still have something to play for. They're only 2 points off of St Mirren, and 5th place will get a European place. So there's plenty to play for. Every team in the top 6, you would say, have something to play for, whether it's securing 3rd, but mathematically for Hearts, Kilmarnock trying their best to push forward and get as high as they can, St Mirren consolidating their place, or Dundee, sort of upsetting the apple cart and getting a European spot for themselves. They get in very, very late with that result by Hibs, that draw against Motherwell. So they'll not feel lucky that they're in the top 6, but they'll be glad that they're in there. It's a showing for their good performances over the season. But if there's ever a game for Celtic to play, if there's ever time for Celtic to play Dundee, given the way the results are, first game of the split, let's get some confidence going. Let's get a few goals as well, maintain that goal difference, because Celtic have been scoring goals against Dundee. I'm not trying to disrespect the opposition. It's just, you look at the scorecard between the two teams. Celtic have had joy against this team in the past. It's time for them to continue to do that. They've probably had worse teams and they've scored goals against Dundee. Now they've got all their first team players back, albeit without Daisen Maeda, who looks to be back maybe even next week, miraculously. So, all the main players are back. All their main hitters are back. You get Ida's, it's on good form. Kyogo's on decent form as well. I'm expecting goals on Sunday. If Celtic turn up and play the way that we expect them to play, and play like they want to be champions, then I'd expect them to score a couple at Dens Park on Sunday. But we know we can't take anything for granted.
I don't know if you've seen this, but Dundee are without their manager on the touchline this weekend. It's funny how much was made about Brendan Rodgers missing that Livingston game and being up in the stand. That's going to be the case for Tony Docherty this weekend. He's suspended. Can't remember exactly why, but I do remember reading a couple of weeks ago. They're also without Owen Beck and Joe Shaughnessy this weekend. So, I guess that might play a factor as well. I mean, Celtic, even with those 3 available in their natural place, Tony, we should be going and beating Dundee if we want to win the league. But I guess that's further improves our chances.
Of course, there's kind of different kind of narratives and subplots here, but I have to say something about Tony Docherty. I think he's done a remarkable job, and I think if he can steer Dundee into Europe, then he has to be a contender for Manager of the Year. Not saying he'll win it, but I think he certainly has to be in any kind of shortlist. And Tony Dock hails from my neck of the woods, East Kilbride, and I actually know Tony Docherty personally. So I'm not just saying it because he's a personal friend, but I genuinely think he's done a remarkable job. He was long a number 2 with Derek McInnes, and he's branched out on his own, and he's always wanted to do that. So I think you have to big up the job that he's done. And they've had a terrific season, and I can only imagine Dundee's aim at the start would have been to consolidate in the Scottish Premiership, to go, top 5, top 6 is wonderful. Top 5 and then pushing for a European spot. I think that's beyond anybody's wildest expectation on Tayside. Yeah, and he, so he's an important cog in that machine, and that'll be missing from the touchline on Sunday. And so these factors can, obviously benefit Celtic. And as you say, the stushy that was created with Brendan Rodgers, this one almost kind of flew under the radar, didn't it? Nobody really knew about it, and maybe they didn't care, but all of these things can add up. Owen Beck's been a decent on-loan signing for them. He's played very well. So, but as you saw at the game at Celtic Park, Celtic put them to the sword, and you would love a repeat of that, wouldn't you? And this team's capable of it. That's the thing, and you have to go if you're going to win the league and be crowned champions. Then go on Sunday and start the swagger for the next 5 games and play like champions. That's it. Just you're defending your title. It is your title. You're going for 3 in a row. Go and show everybody why you're defending the title, because you're a good team when it clicks into place. But it has to click into place.
We're the league leaders, right? We're 3 points clear. We're not the team chasing, as has kind of seemed the case. Maybe not literally, but kind of in the media and stuff like that. It's kind of felt like we were the team chasing in recent months. We're the team leading this league, and when you get to this stage of the season, it's about giving no encouragement to the team behind. Just be faultless. And if we win, the games are going to run out very quickly. Win on Sunday, and worst case scenario, you're 3 points clear. And there's only 4 games to go at that stage. That, for me, is it in a nutshell. I've said a million times, I think, over the past week or so, that it reminds me a lot of the Ross County game a couple of seasons ago. Ange's first season, we won 2-0 there. Jota scored a late goal. We weren't great that day. We got the job done. I could see something similar happening on Sunday. The pitch, Ryan. Some people are concerned. Are people concerned in the chat about the pitch? I must say I'm not. I thought it was pretty fine when Rangers visited there. Maybe I just had visions of it being horrendous, but I thought it was all right for that, and I expect it to be decent enough this weekend. I think the weather forecast is all right for Dundee, to be honest. I love how you look outside.
You're on mute,
muted, and I'm muted. Yeah, absolutely double whammy. I can't speak for Dundee personally for the weather forecast, but from where I'm sitting just now, skies are blue. It's looking pretty good.
Sunniest city in Scotland, Dundee, apparently.
Well, there you go. I'm looking forward to being there. Not the first time I've been to a game in Dundee watching Celtic. I've only been to Tannadice for a game. I've never been to Dens Park across the road. So looking forward to sampling that for the first time. It's a must win, but you'd expect the game to be on because there's been no rain. It seems, in a few days at least. I'm presuming it's the same in Dundee as well. It was a bit of a fiasco, the pitch, but it looks as if they've came out the other end, which is good. They've been hit with that fine. I think a lot of it's been suspended, which will be costly to a team like Dundee, but I'm sure they'll deal with it. You're just hoping that the games, the pitch is well enough to play on, because I think the last thing that people want is games to be postponed and then you've got games in hand. We know all about what happens when games in hand happen, or what can happen. And they become games that you should win, but you don't necessarily win. It's better having the points on the board rather than having those games still to play. Rangers found that out very, very recently. That seems to be the case. But I think the forecast will be fine. Looking forward to being there on Sunday. Fingers crossed that maybe St Mirren could do something as well. But we're not relying on other teams anymore. It's all about Celtic. If they can get the job done and keep that gap to 3 points coming up to, the Rangers game, and then potentially, get it all wrapped up, then I'd be absolutely delighted. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to Sunday, getting back to league action. Hopefully another 3 points.
Just a word of warning, Ryan. The Dens Park press box is an eye opener. Salubrious it
right
is
up the
not.
Back of the stand.
Yes, salubrious it is not. But hey, it's a real old-fashioned football ground, as you would say. So, yeah, you'll enjoy that experience. But maybe enjoys a stretch. But yeah, it's a different experience altogether. But yeah, it is one of those stadiums that it's old-fashioned, but I like that because I'm a bit of a traditionalist that way, and I'm an old fossil. So it is what it is.
Any pitch concerns, Tony?
Nah, listen. Just go and do the job. Don't give yourself an excuse or enter into that kind of mindset. The pitch looks fine to me when they played against Rangers. I believe the forecast is to be fine. Just go out and play. It shouldn't even enter your head any pitch kind of problems. So as I say, when I saw it against Rangers, I thought it looked mighty fine and you could play football on it. So
Yeah.
I have no concerns about that at all. Just go out and do the job, and just think about 3 points, a performance, staying in front, and just that's all. That's all you need to worry about. Nothing else matters.
Anything else on people's minds? We'll maybe get a few talking points from the chat in as well. I saw Man City have apparently offered Joe Hart a non-footballing role, an ambassadorial role. Is that much of a story? I mean, I doubt Joe Hart's going to stay at Celtic. I know we'd spoken about, potentially him making a good coach. It's very clear that he's not wanting to go down that route. He's spoken during the week about him not having done his coaching badges yet. It doesn't seem like that's something he wants to do. Would he have much of an impact at the club in an ambassadorial role? What do you guys think? Is it something you've even thought about?
He's a decent pundit, so I expect him to go down that route. He's definitely... There's not that many goalkeepers in the punditry scene. Peter Schmeichel will do bits and bobs, but there isn't really that many goalkeepers, so people are always looking for that side of the game. It's usually forwards, midfielders, defenders, everyone bar goalkeepers that are pundits. I'm sure he'll get booked regardless of where he goes. He could go to TNT Sports, he could go to Sky Sports, he could go on the circuit in the American coverage as well. There are tons of openings for him that he can go down, that he can still make good money despite not playing. It's funny you say that about not doing these coaching badges, and you could bring in the argument that it would be jobs for the boys if you gave him a coaching role, despite not having the required qualifications to do that job. Yes, I agree. It's good to have him in and around the club as that sort of maybe a captain off the pitch, somebody that can be that link between the manager and the players. But maybe he just needs to go and take time for himself. He can still do the coaching badges. A lot of these people do the coaching badges as a backup if their work goes dry and they need to go into coaching. It's good to have that backup, that sort of safety net. But I expect him to go and do his own thing for the next couple of years, and he'll definitely have a story to tell. He's had so many good experiences, good and bad experiences in his career. I'd expect a book to come out as well, sort of talking about his career, maybe an autobiography or something like that. But yeah, I'm sounding like his manager here. I'm giving him all these jobs to do after he hangs up his gloves. But yeah, I don't think he'll be short of offers, is what I'm trying to say. Long story short, I think there'll be plenty of bookings for him, whether that be podcasts, media appearances, maybe after dinner speaking as well. I'm sure he won't be quiet once he retires.
I think Celtic will have the best non-paying ambassador for the club in Joe Hart, because he'll spend a lifetime telling everybody how good it was at this football club. And he's been an ambassador for the club since he came in. So I don't think you need to worry about where Joe Hart's heart lies. I've said it before, and I quoted the Jock Stein quote saying Celtic weren't his first love, but they'll certainly be his last. It's certainly true of Joe Hart, because it's created an indelible print on his heart. The football club's got right under his skin. So everywhere he goes, he will talk highly of Celtic. And I could ask any more in any kind of ambassadorial role, whether you pay him or not. This man has loved his time at the club. And I think that reflects well, and it will reflect well whenever Joe Hart appears in public and is asked his thoughts on playing for this wonderful entity and institution that is Celtic Football Club. And he will tell everybody that. And I think there is no amount of money that you can pay someone to big up your club at every conceivable opportunity. He embraced it from day one. The supporters embraced him. And whatever happens in the Scottish Cup final, he'll be sadly missed. People had picked out faults in his games. Yeah, goalkeeper he had flaws, but I tell you what, he came in at a great time. It was a brilliant union and a brilliant marriage at a pivotal and crucial time for Celtic. And just his voice around the place, I think, will be missed. But I'm looking forward to seeing him when he does his next thing, and when he is asked to talk about Celtic, because I think even when he speaks, he'll get emotional about it. It really did, it meant a lot to him.
And he said that he'll always be there if Celtic require him for anything. He said he'd made that clear to Brendan Rodgers as well. Gordon Strachan was another one who I remember the quote, paraphrasing, when he left the club, that he hadn't loved Celtic, been a fan of Celtic when he joined, and he was honest about that when he left. He said he had such a love for the club. So it happens. We're not all we're not all born into Celtic. I mean, us as fans, I guess we are, but not everyone who plays for the club is a Celtic fan when they join, but I think most of them, when they leave, are. And Robert saying Joe's family still down south, think he'll spend some time with them in the short term. I don't know if I should ask that. Is Tony Docherty's Celtic leaning, Tony? Is that something we can discuss? Because my ball's saying he'll be sitting in the Celtic end, which obviously he won't, but yeah.
Listen, if you think you know who Tony Docherty supports, then that's your own thoughts in your mind. You know what I mean? Go with that.
Do you want to discuss teams? You guys hold back your teams, don't you? For
because we do the predicted 11, don't we, Ryan? So it'd be interesting to see if the two are in sync this week.
So Steve,
we usually
team. Sorry, on you go, Ryan.
Yeah, we usually hold back for two reasons on the Friday briefing, because one, we do the show after the press conference, although we've not done it in a couple of weeks just due to timing issues, but we usually keep it to that, and then we'll do depending on when the game is, obviously it'll be a Sunday, so we'll put out the predicted lineups on probably Saturday afternoon, so that's a piece of content going out on the Saturday so people can get their teeth into. But I think I don't think there'll be that many changes to the team. Not to put any spoilers for the predicted 11, but I don't think there'll be that many changes. Maybe some subs that came on that made an impact off of the bench will be starting the game on Saturday. Yeah. I know Tony in particular is really calling for that. I'm calling for it as well. I think it's a must start for a certain left winger that made a massive impact when he came on. But yeah, other positions as well need to be filled. I think there's a couple of players that need to maybe step to the side and allow other players to get a chance and see what they're made of.
Yeah, the big one for me, I mean, I don't think Yang can start, given that would be a third start in a row for Yang. And I think you'd be rewarding subpar performances if Yang was to start. That's the one I feel most strongly about. It's not a witch hunt against Yang. I'm not writing him off or anything like that. I would go with James Forrest in the left-hand side. That would be my option. I think he's shown enough recently. I kind of was advocating that last week, but I had Palma in my mind as well. I think Forrest for this one, given his experience, away in these grounds, you kind of know what you're going to get in these matches from James Forrest. I can remember him scoring goals at Dens Park. He would come in for me. I'll be honest, as much as I've kind of stood up for Liam Scales a bit, and I think some of the stuff has been a bit harsh on him, I would start Nawrocki. He would be in my team, whether he's in Rodgers' team or not. I actually think there's a possibility that Rodgers does put Nawrocki in. I think it was kind of bad enough from the defence last week that he could make that change. I wouldn't totally write it off. I know some people might think it's a given Scale starts. The other one's McGregor. And that for me is a kind of fitness question. Has McGregor come on sufficiently over the last 8 days since that cup semi-final? There's definitely, there's big decisions facing Brendan Rodgers this weekend, Tony.
Oh yeah, and this is where he earned his calling, isn't it? And I thought, I thought that we got two positions wrong last week, didn't we? In terms of Yang and McGregor. It was quite apparent early on that McGregor just wasn't at it, and Yang was clearly not at it. So, but you have to go with the manager on these things. So you have to trust them to put out the right team on Sunday. And I'm still not convinced about Callum McGregor's 100% fitness, but as you say, it's another 8 days later. So yeah, that can make a big difference. The big call is Scales, isn't it, and Nawrocki. That's the biggest call, and it's not an area of the team that he likes to tinker with, as he said on many an occasion. But I wrote a piece the other day saying that if Mike Nawrocki can't dislodge Scales after last week's performance, and he's not in the Dundee starting 11, then you have to think that Celtic are willing to ship him off in the summer. Because, if you were going to rotate Scales, drop Scales, act Scales, whatever way you want to say it, then it would be on the back of last week, wouldn't it? But again, it's such a huge risk to take at this late stage in the season. And I know you guys defended Scales, and I'm not. He's been a good stopgap, but I think Celtic will be looking to bring in one, maybe even two central defenders again in the summer, and that'll push Scales back to where he was at the start of this season. Further down the pecking order. He's did a job. He's been competent, but I think now the deficiencies in the game, his game, are being slowly and cruelly exposed, and it's a worry, isn't it? You kind of get worried when you see him there. And you mentioned the point the other day, and I agreed with it, that you felt that Cameron Carter-Vickers had his worst game in a long time for Celtic.
That's the biggest concern for me.
Yeah,
Impact
and I think
CCV.
when it's impacting other players, and it's impacting somebody like Cameron Carter-Vickers, then it is Houston, we have a problem, so you have to address that.
It was the one they both went up for the same ball.
Yeah.
That's the most telling telling example of a centre-back partnership that are not working together at the moment. And again, I'm not writing Scales off forever. I think he'll have a part to play in the future. But I just think at this moment, that's a change I would make. I just think, Nawrocki could come in. Listen, Nawrocki, we're still to find out what he's all about, because I don't think he's, I don't think he's shown us that he's the answer yet either, to be Cameron Carter-Vickers' partner. But what he's not had is a run in the team. He's not had that. You could argue now isn't the time for it. That might be one of the arguments for keeping Scales. I would argue, given how, poor that defence was last week, you would make a change and bring Nawrocki in, right?
Yeah, Nawrocki or Welsh if he's fit as well. I know that maybe people see Welsh and Scales in the same sort of ability level, but I think if you look at Carter-Vickers has looked quite calm whenever Welsh is playing alongside him as well. Also, they've played in numerous games together, and I think that Welsh has came up a level when he's played alongside Carter-Vickers. There's been games where I think he's looked really, really good, especially his forward passing. I know defenders are first and foremost judged on their defending, but his forward passing was good as well, which then allowed the ball to move in a forward direction and get attacks starting. For me, I would want it to be Nawrocki, purely due to the fact that Celtic have paid £4 million for this player, and a player that wasn't even fancied last season that was away out on loan is currently in the team ahead of him. I know it's a different manager. Managers see it differently, but at the end of the day, Brendan Rodgers did sign off on Mike Nawrocki. He brought him into the club. He'd watched him before. His Leicester side had played against Legia Warsaw, in which he was a standout. I think it was at the King Power Stadium. He was one of the standouts for Legia Warsaw. So he knew all about this player. For whatever reason, due to form, due to injury, he's just not had that run in the team that you would have expected him to have. When he came into the first team, you were like, this is the Starfelt replacement. This is the guy that's going to play 35, 40, 50 games this season. Has he even played a third of that? And being in and out of the side, I think, what has he managed? 15, if even that. So it's been a disappointing first season for Nawrocki, but he's got a chance to really sort of change the mood music that's around him if he can do a run from now until the end of the season. I thought he had a really good return to the team against Rangers in that New Year's fixture. I thought he played such a great ball for Kyogo's goal in that game. A defence splitting pass from defence. That shows he does have the skills to play that passing game for Celtic. But I just want to see more of him, because I feel like we've not got a full opinion of him yet, and that's down to injury, that's down to form as well. It's down to Scales playing every game. It's time to see a bit of a difference. I think it's riskier playing Scales than playing Nawrocki at the weekend due to the way his form is going. I think he's on a bit of a downward spiral at the moment. Scales, not to go too downbeat on him, but his form is not great at the moment. And when the team that loaned you out, the team that took you on loan, is purposefully targeting you as a weak link to attack, then there's issues. They know your game and they know what you're good at, and more importantly, they know what you're not so good at. That cross ball from Hoylett went directly into Scales' direction twice, and he got caught out twice with it. So I think it's best to take him out the firing line and allow Nawrocki to get a run of games from now until the end of the season. It might be different. Scales might play on Sunday, but if it was me, I'm not Brendan Rodgers, obviously, I'd play Nawrocki on Sunday.
It's been a while since we've had a starting lineup that will be, anticipated to this extent. I think I'm going to be quite interested to see what Rodgers does. There's 3 key issues that we've touched on, and what kind of I don't want to say what reaction we get, because we did win last week. I thought it was interesting in Rodgers' Celtic TV interview during the week. He said there's still a lot to learn from last week. He says sometimes in semi-finals when you progress, there's a tendency just to put it to the side. You've gone through, that's what a semi-final's for. But he said there's a lot of learning from last week's game. So let's see what the team have done over the 8 days, and let's try and get a victory, another victory under our belt. We've kind of changed the order slightly. I'm still to do the sponsor shout out. A big thanks to MPH Boilers and Weissman for sponsoring this video. Weissman are a global leader in the boiler industry. MPH Boilers are a award-winning local installation team, and as you know, they've teamed up. It's a match made in heaven. And this is your big chance to get world-class engineering with local expert service. So it's Weissman, MPH Boilers. Thanks to them for sponsoring. Now, just before we put this up, guys, I believe the Kyogo stuff has gone out, because I've seen actually a comment here from, if I can find it, Mickey saying, a big thanks for the Kyogo print. It's much bigger than I thought it was going to be. I also saw something online, so I wonder if that's Mickey as well. So they're gone out. People have them, and people can still get them, Ryan.
They sure can. 6 months of access for £1, plus that, as you were mentioning there, a free Kyogo Furuhashi print from renowned football artist made by Frankie. As people are saying, it's a lot bigger in person than they thought it was going to be, which is great for putting it up on your wall if you're going to frame it. One of Celtic's modern day heroes, a player that's got loads of goals against Rangers, loads of goals against everyone else. Not having maybe the best season, but he's still scored some important goals both in Europe and domestically. So if you want to get involved with that, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Those ones that have, I think the first 250 people that have subscribed, which shows you just how many people have taken us up on this offer. They're arriving, or they've already arrived, so it's great to see. I will retweet that or repost that picture of the print, because people are surprised at how big it is, including myself. I've not actually seen it in person as of yet, but it looks absolutely tremendous. And if you still want to get involved with that, then please sign up and make sure that you're on the next batch of deliveries.
Just wanted to say thank you to for all your kind comments as well about the prints. There's lots of people on social media putting it up there and saying they're very impressed with it. So thanks for that, guys. We appreciate you subscribing. We appreciate the fact that you love the free gift as well. So yeah, thank you. And if you haven't subscribed already, do what the man at the bottom said there. Subscribe, hit that button. www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. But I'm just delighted that you're enjoying the Kyogo print as well.
Indian Bones saying my wee boy loves his poster. Francis saying I got mine as well. So people are definitely getting them. That's 420 saying it's up beside the Calmac print, both class. Great stuff. Tony, final comment before we head off for this video.
Final comment. Do you know what? I think every Celtic supporter, their message to the team this would be just win. Simple, just win. It's as simple as it gets, isn't it?
Is that it?
That's it. Win. That's my final comment. Just win.
I can come with that. I can come with that statement. Just win. Win 5 games in a draw will get you the double. But try and make it 6 wins, or get as close to 6 wins as you can. Make sure this double is secured. We can all moan about the recruitment and the structuring and everything else. But right now, it needs to be a united front with the fans, the support. The fans to the supporters, the same thing. Fans, the players, to the manager. Everybody needs to be as the one united force from now until the end of the season. If they can do that, then we can discuss the restructuring in the summer. But if they can get that double, it will make the restructuring and new players coming in just that little bit easier, knowing that you've managed to get it over the line.
I'm not even thinking about the 5 games or the 6 games. Just Sunday, just win.
Yeah. Just thinking I'm going to get through Saturday.
It's going to be a long day for you, Hamish, isn't it?
It's a long way away, and it kick off. I think it's midnight here on it's Monday, isn't it? Monday morning, midnight.
Doddle.
So
Absolute doddle.
Yeah, should be good. Right, you guys will be back over the course of the weekend. Later today, am I right in saying that?
Yeah. We'll be
back. We'll be later after they do the press conferences. We'll be discussing the prognosis on Daizen Maeda, because I think we'll get a definitive answer as to how long he'll be out for or when he'll return. It seems as if he'll
be asked.
Yeah, the miraculous healing with Maeda. It would only be Maeda with his miraculous healing. I think he's ran past his injury and just fast forwarded into the new season. Wouldn't surprise me coming from Maeda, but yeah, delighted to hear about that. Or we're presuming we're going to hear about Maeda.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be back after doing the press conferences to discuss the press conferences before we finish.
Great stuff. I will return on Monday, everyone. So from me, have a great weekend, and hopefully it's a 3-point weekend. Chat to you then.